we understand that divorce was never supposed to be a thing.
My parents aren't perfect, just like I'm not perfect, right? And all the things that they did come from a very like legalistic, pretty much a cult, but I like to smoke weed, so
Give us your origin story, bro. Were you raised Christian? What just kind of take us from that part.
I got you. Yeah. So my parents did raise us Christian. They did come from a very like legalistic, pretty much a cult,
Wow.
as far as like very extreme, if you do this, you'll go to heaven. If you don't do this, you'll go to hell type of stuff.
Mm.
Which, was a problem within itself, obviously. So that obviously caused them to, view God as more of a tyrant than, the father that he is. And that's
Right.
always been something that I've wrestled with. I know who God is in the Bible, I know the character that he's displayed, right?
Yep.
All throughout scripture. But seeing that growing up, I kind of was blessed because I didn't really grow up in it, but we would go to like church camp and stuff.
Mm.
And I would have like a short sleeve shirt on and like shorts on, and they'd be like, this kid's, he's on the wrong path, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Wait, just because
So
you got some short sleeves and
yeah, bro, that's what I'm saying. So
wow.
yeah, it was extreme, it was extreme.
Yeah.
So they split up, they got divorced when I was like 9 or 10.
Wow.
But I'm not gonna lie, at the time I was like, shoot, 2 birthdays, 2 Christmas, no problem. Looking back, I can see that, it obviously had some negative effects on me, even though at the time I didn't feel like that. So, anyways,
Yeah.
um, fast forward, I go to high school. I was, really good at sports. Won 2 state championships in football.
Dope.
Was all state, back to back. We were a smaller school, so it wasn't like anything crazy down here. But South Florida's got some really good football,
Yeah.
some of the best in the country, and so that was good. But I like to smoke weed, so um, you know, I got a girlfriend my junior summer. Um, was smoking a little bit, and then senior year afterwards, I just decided it's like I would rather stay here, and hang out with her, smoke, than go play football. I was kind of like tired of it a little bit,
Mm.
anyways. Um,
Okay. So let's slow that down just a little bit. Let's slow that down because
mhm.
there's a couple things that you hit that I want to circle back. Obviously, right there, but I want to circle back a little bit back more towards just that divorce.
Mhm.
So uh, we understand that divorce was never supposed to be a thing. As a child, especially as you're looking back, what did you feel like were those negative moments? Because I'm always interested. My story, my parents, in short, they weren't divorced and they're still not divorced. But I woke up, um, especially throughout grade school for sure. Just each day, just not knowing if like today's gonna be the last day. Today's gonna be the last day. Is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is you know what I mean? Like it was always that, right? So were there great moments throughout life? Absolutely. There was some great moments. But there was enough negative that I had that lingering thought in my mind at a young age. So though my family did not split, it felt like a split, and in some ways there were some splits. So I'm always interested when I speak to someone whose family is divorced. What were those things that you can reflect back on? Those negative things that you were impacted by.
Yeah. Without going into too much detail, because
Yeah.
I do want to, obviously honor my mom and dad,
Right.
while being transparent. Yeah, I mean, he had anger issues at the time, and my mom wasn't the easiest to deal with too. So there was
Mm.
that within marriage, that I saw, being 7, 8, 9 years old.
Right.
But it was the norm, right? So like it's like you said, when's is today going to be the day? It's like that was normal to you,
Yep.
even having that thought. So and that shouldn't be a normal thing, right? It's
Right. Right.
like
Right.
a kid should never be thinking that. But So I saw some things happen that definitely shouldn't have happened. Um, you know, them getting, physical with each other or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Afterwards, the biggest things were probably that we always got put in the middle, right? So,
Yeah.
um, you know, school, right? So I needed school supplies. I needed a backpack or whatever, to start off, middle school, whatever grade it was.
Right.
And I'd go to, my dad and I'd be like, hey, I really need to get, this. And he'd be like, well, you need to go get with your mom. And then mom would do the
Yeah.
same thing. So then you're just like, okay, I can't count on them at all.
Yep. Yep.
um, but eventually I would get it, but
Yeah.
that was definitely a negative. That was probably the most frustrating thing after their split
Yeah.
was the being put in the middle.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, and I understand that because again, just even for my story, where I was put in the middle is um, I would always hear my parents complaining about the other one
Mm.
to me, right? So
Mm.
I'd be with my mom and she'd go off about something. I'd be with my dad in the garage doing something. All of a sudden, he'd go off, and it wasn't until way later in my years that I did have to discuss with them. Hey, like I don't mind getting together, but every time we do, it's like you're vomiting all of this onto me, right? And
Yeah.
it's nothing that I can do anything with, right?
Hmm.
So I definitely get that. So talk
Hmm.
to me, just because everyone either knows somebody or has gone through that tension where the family unit is not as tight as it ought to be, right? Um, how did that play a role in your later on? Like you said, you were playing sports, you were doing all this, everything was looking great. Do you feel like that lack of unity and support, or whatever in that case, as a family, also allowed you to be able to go, okay, hey, I'm just gonna rock with this chick, and then just smoke on out, for
Hmm.
the rest of my senior year, or however.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, probably. Um, I started smoking when I was like 14, so
Wow.
super young. And a lot of people, they might start at that age or whatever. I don't know if it could have been an escape at the time. You know,
Yeah.
I always felt like I was a pretty easygoing, down to earth kid. But there's always those subconscious things, that maybe that was like me trying to mask stuff that I didn't want to deal with,
Yeah.
and just smoke, and I wasn't really that heavy of a drinker ever, but I did drink a little bit, so that could have definitely played a part for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked.
So, um, is that something? Is that something that you have now at this stage of your life have kind of either gone through like therapy or thought back through that stuff, or you just kind of keeping it moving?
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't done therapy about that. I have my church, my local church does do inner healing. That's what they call it, which is, a form of like, therapy for Christians. They do dive a
Got it.
little bit deeper. But I did do like a session of that. We didn't really touch on those things, but I have thought about them, and I've usually thought about them from the point of like, my parents aren't perfect, just
Mhm.
like I'm not perfect, right?
Right.
And all the things that they did, that they put me in the middle, some of the nastier things that happened within their marriage. um I know that they've changed a lot, and I always want to
Yeah.
look, it says that love believes all things,
Hmm.
right? And to me that means not to be gullible,
Right. Right.
but it believes the best, and it sees the best in people. So looking back on me, I mean, I was a problem child, back in the day. Could that have stemmed from things that they did? Yeah, but I got to take responsibility. So
Right.
I wanted to, I always, when I look back, of course, it's a good lesson. I have a girl now, a baby girl. She's 6 weeks old.
Oh wow.
So, it's amazing. And God's really blessed me. And I want to always look back on things that I could have done better, you know, and not focus so much on, well, they could have done this better, they could have done that better.
Right.
Because it's like the verse that Jesus talks about, you know, if the log's in your eye, you need to take it out before you go. You know, try to take it out of somebody else's. So that's definitely been therapeutic for me, just to have that self-reflection, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is. It's good to understand and give that grace. I mean, it sounds like you've also kind of worked through some forgiveness, even though you haven't maybe visited through a lot of that past stuff. It also seems like you've at least landed on the forgiveness and that grace and patience for your parents. Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.